This presentation is an overview of the reopening of the Oasis Unrestricted on-ramp, and this is for pools 1, 3, and 4. I would like everyone to keep in mind that what's being presented here is for informational purposes only, and anything that's stated in this briefing or omitted is not a substitute for the official written solicitation, which is posted on FBO. This is just an overview of the agenda of what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over the background of Oasis, an overview of the solicitation, instructions, conditions, and notices to offers, the proposal requirements, the basis for award, and the screening and evaluation process, and then some frequently asked questions. So Oasis in general is a family of multiple award, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. The contracts allow for every type of contract at the task order level, so that's firm fixed price, time and material, commercial, non-commercial, etc. And all of these types can be combined on a single task order. The minimum guarantee is $2,500 if no task orders are issued during the period of performance. The minimum dollar value for an individual task order is the simplified acquisition threshold. And there's no maximum dollar ceiling either on an individual task order or on each contract or for the vehicle overall. So it's an unlimited ceiling all the way around. And any federal agency may issue a task order award off of Oasis. The types of services are professional services only. Personal services are not authorized under Oasis. And the service locations are going to be identified in each task order because they can be CONUS and OCONUS. The period of performance for the Oasis Unrestricted vehicle is going to be from the date of the notice to proceed through September 2nd of 2024 because the option was exercised for this family of contracts. And the individual task orders may extend up to 5 years past the expiration of the master level contracts. So the task orders can be performed through September 2nd of 2029. Essentially what's happening here is we're increasing strategic pools. So there'll be up to about 80 contractors in each pool, so we're looking to award approximately 40 contractors in pools 1, 3, and 4. And in total overall, what's happening with Oasis is that's going to expand the total contract vehicle by approximately 120 contractors. And an estimated 1,100 contractors will be added to the program overall once all of the on-ramps are completed for both small business and unrestricted. This is the last on-ramp that's being planned for Oasis overall. There are no plans for any other on-ramps either on unrestricted or small business at this time. So what we're doing is reopening the original solicitation. This on-ramp is going to be open season and the RFP number is GS00Q-13-DR-0001-P1, P3, P4, and that's the solicitation number that you're going to look for on FBO. Like I said, we're opening up pools 1, 3, and 4, and the primary NAICS codes are identified here with their corresponding small business size standard. And the evaluation is going to be conducted in accordance with Section H15.3 of the original solicitation, which is basically the authority to conduct an open season on-ramp. So the evaluation factors in the award decision will be based on substantially the same content as the original solicitation. This is just an overview of all of the NAICS codes that are allowed under each pool. These are also listed in the contract. The first thing that any offer is going to want to do is read the entire solicitation. And then once you go from there, some of the things to note that our offers can apply for more than one pool, but offers can only submit one proposal per pool. The government will not reimburse offers for any costs for the preparation and submission of a proposal. All offers must be an official legal entity, which means you're registered in SAM. Offerers must provide all of the official and verifiable supporting documentation necessary to validate all the minimum requirements and any scored evaluation criteria being claimed. And this cannot be stressed enough. It is the responsibility of the offeror to support every element of the proposal that they're claiming. The offerers must also follow all of the instructions for submitting the supporting documentation, which means offers are required to organize their proposal in accordance with Section L4. Offers are to use sticky notes and highlight each section or paragraph of the supporting documentation that corresponds to each minimum requirement or scored evaluation criteria. Offers must upload all of their documents in the proper format and on the proper templates in Symphony, and they're bound by the page limitations provided in the proposal format table in Section L4. An omission of any proposal requirements or failure to follow the instructions may result in the rejection of an offer. All of the pool qualification, primary and secondary projects submitted in response to the solicitation must be performed by the offeror unless the offeror is utilizing meaningful commitment relationship letters. The project is the result of a merger, acquisition, novation, or change of name agreement. The offerer is part of a CTA or a JV or an FSSCTA. And something to note here about the teaming arrangements for the CTAs is that it's limited to only the first tier small business subcontractor, and all CTA members must be small businesses under the applicable size standard, and that size representation must be included in the reps inserts and in SAM. And a caution to the CTAs is that no project may be used in more than one proposal for each pool submitted under this solicitation unless it was submitted as a change of name agreement or a merger, acquisition, or novation. Projects that are used in more than one proposal in a given pool will be removed from all proposals and will not be evaluated. It's the offeror's responsibility to ensure that the projects submitted as part of its proposal are not submitted as part of any other proposal. So what that means is if you're in a CTA and you're applying for Pool 1 as the prime, and you're submitting Project A, your CTA members cannot submit Project A under Pool 1. Otherwise, Project A will be eliminated from everybody's proposal and it will not be evaluated. Proposals are only to be submitted electronically through the Symphony online proposal system. Any proposal that's sent to the contracting officer or other point of contact will be determined non-responsive and will be ineligible for award. It is the sole responsibility of the offeror to ensure registration and submission of its proposal in Symphony. Offerors are strongly encouraged to register for an account and upload their proposal documentation in advance of the proposal submission deadline. It's also the offeror's responsibility to make sure that the government can open the files and there's no barriers to opening, like the files being locked or encrypted. All proposal documents need to be submitted as a PDF with the exception of J9, which is the cost price workbook, and that's an Excel spreadsheet. The solicitation closing date will be specified in the RFP, and all of the amendments will be posted to FedBizOps. It's the sole responsibility of the offeror to monitor FedBizOps for any amendments and changes to the RFP or the closing date, or both. Solicitation questions may only be submitted through the Symphony system. All questions related to this solicitation must be submitted by the date specified in the RFP. Any questions submitted after the deadline or through any other means will not be considered. Acknowledgement of receipt of questions will not be made, and the questions must include the page number, section number, and paragraph number of the solicitation that pertains to the question. The official answers will be posted to FedBizOps via an amendment, and it is possible that there'll be more than one amendment to issue rolling questions, but that's not a guarantee. Again, just keep watching FBO to make sure you keep track of all of the amendments. Any questions regarding like Symphony access must be submitted to the Symphony Help Desk, and all of the access questions are going to be shut off about 36 hours before the solicitation closes, so there will be a separate deadline in the RFP to submit questions regarding Symphony. One thing to note here is please do not submit questions requesting that the evaluation criteria be changed. The evaluation criteria is not going to be changed. The authority to conduct on-ramps in accordance with the contract is that the material will remain the same and the award decision will be based off of the same criteria as the original. So no requests to change the criteria will be entertained. If there's any protests, those are to be served on the contracting officer. That would be Samantha Davis, and you can either mail them in or email them. Email is preferred, but the option is there in accordance with FAR 33.101. The proposal requirements, in general, the contractor is going to be required to submit the standard Form 33, to submit an acceptable uncompensated overtime plan, submit an acceptable professional employee compensation plan, and submit the representations and certifications. All contractors are going to be required to be found responsible, so the prospective contractors must meet the general standards of FAR 9.104. The offers must submit GSA Form 527, which is attachment 13. If the offeror is a large business, the offeror must submit an acceptable subcontracting plan, and failure to submit an acceptable subcontracting plan may result in removal from consideration of award. Small business subcontracting plans are not required for small business concerns. However, small business concerns may elect to submit them if they choose to. All of the forms must be signed by an authorized official of the offeror's company, and in the case of any CTAs, the official legal entity is the one that's required to submit GSA Form 527. If you're applying as a joint venture, each member of the joint venture must submit the GSA Form 527. All offers are required to submit 3 pool qualification projects. Each pool qualification project must be awarded by the federal government, and it must be either a standalone contract or a task order that's issued under a single award or multiple award, individual IDIQ contract, or under a BOA, or a GSA Mass or single award or multiple award BPA, or an award that's issued under an other transaction authority. The period of performance for each project must be ongoing or completed within 5 years of the solicitation closing. All projects should have a period of performance of at least 1 year unless it meets one of the exceptions that's listed in section L.5.1.2A3B. Each of the projects must have a past performance rating of at least a 3. And each pool qualification project submitted for a given pool must have a NAICS code or PSC code that directly corresponds to the NAICS code or PSC code listed in section L.5.1.2 for the pool being applied for. So that means that if you're applying for pool 1, all of your pool qualification projects must have a NAICS code or a PSC code that directly corresponds to one of the allowable NAICS codes under that contract, or in the chart that was shown in the slides earlier that showed all of the applicable NAICS codes for each of these pools. Pool qualification projects may also be resubmitted as primary projects or secondary projects. Each offer is required to submit 5 relevant experience primary projects. Those can be any combination of federal, state, international public sector and non-federal government or commercial projects. A primary project that's awarded by the federal government must be a standalone contract, a task order under an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, or a GSA mass, or a single award or multiple award blanket purchase agreement, or an award issued via an OTA. At the election, the contractor can submit a collection of task orders that's awarded under a single award, IDIQ, or BPA. However, none of the task orders that's submitted for primary projects 1 through 4 can be submitted as part of the collection of the task order. And any contract that's submitted as a subcontract will be considered non-conforming. The relevant experience projects must also include at least 4 of the 6 core disciplines. They must have a past performance rating of at least 3 or higher. The individual projects must have an average annual value of at least $3 million, and all 5 projects, when combined, must have an average annual value of at least $25 million. All projects must be ongoing or completed within 5 years of the solicitation closing. And all projects have to have at least 1 year of period of performance unless it meets one of the exceptions specified in the RFP. The minimum requirements for relevant experience secondary projects, if submitted, the offeror may elect to submit relative experience secondary projects for experience with mission spaces and or experience with multiple award IDIQs or multiple award BPAs. All projects must be ongoing or completed within 5 years of the solicitation closing date. For validating the period of performance of task order awards, the period of performance of the master level IDIQ or BPA will be used. All projects should have at least 1 year of period of performance unless it meets one of the exceptions, and all projects must be awarded by the U.S. federal government. This is just outlining the differences between what's allowed to be submitted for mission spaces and what's allowed to be submitted for the multiple award IDIQs or BPA experience. So as you can see from the chart, the mission spaces is a little bit more liberal. So in order to qualify for a mission space, you could have a standalone contract, a task order under a single award IDIQ or a multiple award IDIQ, any order issued under a BOA, MAS, or a BPA or an other transactional authority is also acceptable. The following forms are acceptable, which is the SF 1449, the SF 26, the SF 33, the DD 1155, the optional form 307, GSA form 300, or other award form from a cognizant federal agency. And compared to the experience with the multiple award task orders and BPAs, the contracts and task orders could only have been issued under either a multiple award IDIQ or a multiple award BPA, and the contract or task orders must have been issued on one of the following forms, which is the SF 1449, the SF 26, the SF 33, the optional form 307, or another award form from a cognizant federal agency. So if the offeror elects to submit projects for mission spaces, the offeror can submit a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 5 distinct secondary relative experience projects with mission spaces. The 5 mission spaces are protection and defense, quality of life, commerce, natural resources, and other. If an agency isn't listed within a specific mission space, the umbrella agency will take precedence, and the relative experience secondary projects will only be given credit for a single mission space. Once a mission space is covered, additional credit for the same mission space is not given. So what this means is if an offeror submits only 2 projects and they submit them both under protection and defense, the offeror would not be eligible for points because they submitted the protection and defense twice, and you can only get credit for each mission space once. At its election, the offeror can choose to submit secondary experience for multiple award IDIQs or BPAs, and that could come in the form of a combination of 2 to 4 master level IDIQs or BPAs with at least 10 distinct task order awards and at least 3 task orders under each master level contract. The offeror could also submit a combination of 5 to 9 master level contracts with at least 25 distinct task orders that are combined between all of those, and at least 3 task orders have to be issued under each individual master level contract. You could also submit a combination of 10 or more master level contracts with at least 50 task orders combined, and at least 3 task orders would have to be awarded under each of those master level contracts. The past performance only applies to pool qualification projects and relative experience primary projects. No past performance will be submitted for secondary projects. The offers need a record of at least 3 or higher for each pool qualification project or each relative experience primary project, and only the relative experience primary projects are eligible for scored evaluation points. Offers may also claim points for meeting or exceeding total small business goals on the 5 relative experience primary projects. System certifications and clearances are not minimum or mandatory requirements. All approved system certifications and clearances must be maintained at the current level at the time of award or higher throughout the performance of the unrestricted contracts. So if you come in and you apply and you have an ISO 9001 certification, what this is saying is you have to maintain that certification throughout the life of the period of performance. The only little notation here is acceptable accounting systems are mandatory. However, they're not necessarily mandatory at the time of submission. If your firm does not have an acceptable accounting system and your firm is one of the apparently successful offerers, an audit will be initiated for your firm by the Oasis CO, and your award will be contingent upon the results of that audit. This is just a list of the types of system certifications and clearances that can be submitted for points. And again, none of these are minimum or mandatory. These are just voluntary only. The cost and price requirement is required to be submitted as attachment 9, and it's only attachment 9 that's acceptable. And essentially, offers are required to propose direct labor rates for each of the labor categories within the ranges provided in attachment 2. If available, the offers are required to propose indirect rate percentages according to their most current DCAA, DCMA, or cognizant federal agency approved forward pricing rate agreements, forward pricing rate recommendations, or provisional billing rates. If the offer does not have approved rates, the offeror must use indirect rates generated by its current accounting system. Something to note here about these prices is that they're established only as ceiling rates for time and material and labor hour contracts awarded under Oasis that are issued on a sole source basis. The ceiling rates do not apply to fixed price or cost reimbursement task orders or time and material or labor hour when there's adequate price competition. The ceiling rates are also incorporated by reference into any resulting contract, and they are considered proprietary, so we don't share those and we don't post them directly on any websites. The basis for award for this is determined by the highest technically rated offer with a fair and reasonable price. So it's not going to be based on low price, technically acceptable, or trade-off. All of the evaluation factors when combined are significantly more important than cost and price. And this is very important to note that the government intends to award these contracts without discussion, so the initial proposals must contain the best offer. And again, the initial proposals need to contain all of the required supporting documentation to validate that offer, as the government intends to strictly enforce all of the proposal submission requirements. Essentially, the screening and evaluation process, this is an overview of that. So to start, the evaluation team will verify supporting documentation exists for all evaluation criteria in the offeror's proposal, and then we'll compare that to what's claimed in the self-scoring. The evaluation team then assigns a preliminary score, and offerors are sorted from high to low. The evaluation team will start by performing an acceptability review for the top 40 offerors in each pool, and an acceptability review consists of submitting all the documents according to the instructions and meeting all the minimum requirements in Section L. Any offeror who fails the acceptability review will be removed from consideration, and the next highest rated offer will be added. So if we start the review looking at the top 40 and somebody doesn't pass the acceptability review, then we start looking at offeror 41. Once we have the top 40 offers that have passed the acceptability review, the evaluation team will then verify and validate all the scored criteria. In the event the offer is not given credit for a claimed scored criteria, the offeror's score will be adjusted downward. If the adjustment is significant to where the offer falls out of the top 40, the offeror will be notified and the next highest rated offeror will be added. So you could end up with offer number 42 getting bumped up if offer number 2 gets adjusted downward and they fall out of the top 40 cutoff line. This process will continue until the top 40 offers are identified and their scores are all verified and validated. Once the top 40 offers' scores are verified and validated, the evaluation team will verify that the offers have submitted fair and reasonable pricing. If any of the top 40 offers are found to have unreasonable pricing, the offer will be eliminated from further consideration, and the next highest rated offer will be added. So that could be offer number 43, and then we would repeat that process to keep that top 40 line cut off where everybody's verified and validated. So this process will continue until we have the 40 offers who represent the highest technically rated with a fair and reasonable price. At that point, the evaluation will cease and all of the successful contracts will be issued under the applicable pools. A couple of the frequently asked questions. One of the top questions is, I am a small business. Can I respond to the unrestricted on-ramp? The answer to that is yes. This is full and open. Another common question is, why has GSA decided to stop using the GACA process, CDs, or paper copy submissions and is instead making Symphony the required proposal submission method? And the answer is that significant issues were encountered with the prior proposal submission methods, and the advantage is that Symphony allows for better control of the source selection sensitive materials when compared to CDs and paper copies, and Symphony also streamlines the evaluation process on the government side. You may have noticed that we eliminated this self-scoring worksheet, but we still have section J5 posted. The purpose of that is to provide information so offers can see what their company may be able to achieve before registering for Symphony and submitting their offer. Another question we get is about the Small Business Runway Extension Act that became law in December of 2018. To allow for the previous 5 years of revenue rather than the previous 3 years when determining business size status. And how will GSA determine the size status? And our answer is, until the SBA issues further direction, agencies will continue to use the previous standard of 3 years when determining the size status, as GSA lacks the authority to deviate from the SBA's current regulations, which specify a 3 year size standard. Another question that we get that's pretty common is, do I need a GSA schedule to propose for Oasis? And the answer to that is no. Any offeror may submit a proposal in response to the solicitation. Another common question about teaming is, can we utilize different CTA members for each pool? And the answer to that is yes. Through Symphony, you will be able to choose which CTA members you are utilizing for each pool. And a reminder here that this is limited to the first tier subcontractors, and all of the CTA members must be small businesses in accordance with the applicable size standard of that pool. Another common question is that given this is not a small business procurement and FAR Part 9.6012 allows CTAs of any combination of size status, will the government strike the requirement in section L.5.1.10b that all CTA members must be small businesses under the applicable size standard as reflected in their representations and certification? The answer to that is no. The terms and conditions for conducting an open season on-ramp state that the award decision for on-ramps are to be based on substantially the same evaluation factors and sub-factors as the original award, but must also be issued under current procurement law. The original solicitation did not allow for CTAs at all. However, since the issuance of the original solicitation, 15 U.S.C. 644 Q1 went into effect. And this law requires that the experience of individual team members in CTA be considered. However, this law only applies to small businesses. The final thoughts on ramping are definitely to read the entire solicitation before asking questions. It's also a good idea to check the FBO website to see if there's been any amendments, and if any of those amendments contain a log of questions and answers. You need to follow the instructions for utilizing Symphony to submit questions. Don't attempt to ask questions by email or calling the government points of contact. They will not be answered. Any requests to add, remove, or revise any of the scored evaluation in section M will not be considered. And please refrain from contacting the Oasis team requesting status updates. If you do submit that, it may or may not get answered, and if it does get answered, the standard reply you're going to get is it's under evaluation. Updates will be provided as soon as possible via FBO. And we appreciate your patience, and thank you for your interest in Oasis and the professional services offering of GSA.